Welcome to day 9 of my 13-day hike in Swedish Lapland. Now we are really moving to the end. After a night at Saltoluokta, I'm back to wilderness. Today you will see not only some magical views, but also some magical reindeer. I'm sorry in advance for some windy footage of today, but it's 19 kilometers to go, so let's get on with it. On the morning of day 9, I treated myself to a breakfast at Saltoluokta restaurant. Unfortunately, it didn't allow for my usual early morning routine, but as you know by now, I love a breakfast which I don't need to cook. And I was the first one down, as I really wanted to start soon to be the first on the trail. I enjoyed the breakfast a lot, having a chat with a nice American couple who joined my table at some point. Plus, it was such a welcome change after 8 days of ready-made meals. And we're finally into day 9. Is it 9? I think it's 9. I'm pretty sure it's 9. Day 9 of the trip. Today I'm doing 19 kilometers. Let's see, Kungsleden. This way, right? Yes, precisely. I'm moving to the next hut. Another second half of my adventure. 5 more days. And actually, I feel good. I was afraid that I'd be absolutely dead after 8 days. But no, I'm ready to continue for 5 more days. I'm very excited. The weather is supposed to be good for the next 2 days. Then it's going to rain, of course. But I think that's enough. 2 days is quite perfect. I'm in such good mood for now. I'm not sure how long it will last, but it makes such a difference to, take a shower, then have a nice dinner with just normal food. And I had also such a lovely dinner because we had a very nice company around the table with a lady from Netherlands, a lady from Czechia, and a guy from Germany. It was such a nice conversation, and we enjoyed the food and just sitting all together around the table after a long day of hiking, or some of them had rest day. And this morning I had a very nice proper breakfast, not a breakfast out of a bag, but some proper sandwiches with freshly baked bread, and I had a really nice conversation with a couple from the United States, and now I'm really happy, and it really cheers me up for the next 5 days. The trail begins with a steepish climb, which is probably the hardest part of today. As you climb higher and higher, the view becomes more and more majestic. As I mentioned yesterday, I do think that clouds always give a picture extra depth, and you can see it here. I was stopping a lot and couldn't put my camera down. The drone got its turn as well, but I hiked this trail 4 years ago, in 2020, at the end of July. It occurred to me that it could be fun to add some pictures from back there to show you how the season change affects the area. The color change is crazy, as it's only a bit more than a month and 4 years between the footages. The uphill gradually becomes less and less steep as I get out of the short birch forest into the mountains. At this point, I still have some phone connection, which allows me to catch up on my favorite YouTube podcasts. Not for long, of course. Typical receptionless wilderness is upon me. Beautiful, isn't it? And the best thing? You don't even need to do a multi-day hike like I'm doing at the moment to see all of that. You can just stay at Saltoluokta, where I spent the night today, and just do day hikes and enjoy these magnificent views. As you can see, I'm getting higher and higher, but it's a very comfortable incline. If only I didn't have that heavy backpack. I got up that mountain and I still feel good. And I'm still excited about 5 days. So it's not always correlated with physical effort. How much I want to continue. And here, unfortunately, you could no longer hear me over the wind. Yep, that usual normal northern mountain wind. Well, I will have to repeat the main idea to you in my own words. What I'm saying here is that this stretch from Saltoluokta to Kvikkjokk in 2020 was my first ever through hike. It was the height of COVID and we couldn't travel outside Sweden. So I had to take my summer holidays in Sweden. I googled something like the most beautiful places in Sweden and came over a picture from the top of Skierfjell mountain. And I just had to see it. But, as I soon learned, the only option was a multi-day hike. So what do? I watched many videos, read a lot about the hike, the SDF huts, bought a backpack and other gear, and set on my merry way. Loved and hated it, promised myself to never do it again, and was back on another section of the trail a month later. I've been through hiking ever since, even made some through skiing trips in winter. And at this point, I saw a reindeer. I was really happy to see these guys. I always meet reindeer when hiking in the north, and it's been 8 days that I haven't seen a single one. They are a bit far, but very soon I will meet another herd quite close to the trail. I'm sorry, you're getting quite a lot of pictures today. Can you find a group of hikers in this one? As I mentioned, Saltoluokta is pretty popular for day hikers and offers group tours. Not my thing, but I know that many people would enjoy it. As for the pictures, I'm sorry, but the day was so gorgeous I just couldn't stop myself. And here I met more reindeer, and at an incredibly magnificent spot. It's totally just a photographer's luck to get that mountain with a veil of clouds at the top and a reindeer just in front of it.
The empire at our fingertips, the autumn to discover. If I would have had the worthiness.
Reindeer really are my favorite animals. Well, following closely after cats and giraffes. Come on, guys. You're in my way.
Take my hands and cover your eyes and tell me there's no other. Would you be?
This silly reindeer. Oh, you're so cute.
Would you be my Valentine?
You know, reindeer are always quite scared of people. Yet, I usually hesitate to come near them. After all, they are mostly way larger than I am, especially the large, hooved ones. I was moving too slowly, taking too many pictures, so other hikers started catching up to me. Up to you during picture taking, so I often stop and take pictures, but then we kind of have the same stride and we start walking along and then it's just I want to be on my own hills, listening to a book or to a podcast, but usually if a group of people is walking along chatting loudly, I cannot hear my book. and I need to decide if I should hurry and leave them behind or slow down and let them pass. And there was such a group of 3 people just there, and I decided to drop them. But now I have to hurry up so they don't catch up to me.
I want to keep stopping and taking pictures, but I also want to hurry away from them. I'm roughly halfway. I think getting a bit tired, so I probably should sit down and have my energy bars lunch in about half an hour. It's really beautiful, but the scenery is kind of the same today, and the most beautiful part is behind me, but it will change tomorrow.
As you can see, this bit of Kungsleden is way less popular than the northern one. I was pretty much alone the whole day, apart from that incident with a group of 3 hikers and one large guided group of hikers heading in an opposite direction.
There are considerably less people on this bit of Kungsleden from Sitojaure to Kvikkjokk in comparison to the one from Abisko to Nikkaluokta, or even Abisko to Tarfala, which I finished yesterday. I've seen, I think, one hiker and a group of 3 hikers, which I mentioned, going in this direction. And then there were 2, I think, guided tours on their way back. And that's pretty much it, which is way fewer than on the previous bit. But also much more than on those probably 3-4 days that I was off Kungsleden trail when I was hiking around Vistas and Nallo. There are like 0 to 2-3 people per path. Let's say that's why I kind of like hiking in those off the main trail bits. But doesn't it look gorgeous behind me? This scenery looked pretty surreal, even in summer. But with this orange looks pretty crazy. I'm very lucky that it's behind me, so I can only see it and stop taking pictures when I stop and turn back. Otherwise, if I were walking the other way, I would just be stopping all the time, as it usually happens to me when it's a nice day.
And here, I stopped for a lunch break at an extremely beautiful spot, not far from the rest hut. I was drinking tea, munching on energy bars, and taking an occasional picture when the light was particularly great. When you hike with a heavy backpack, it's quite warm, but as soon as you stop and put it down, it gets a bit chilly, especially on a windy day like this. This is a time-lapse, but you can kind of judge how fast the clouds are moving and see how windy it was. Hence, the horrible sound of the video sometimes. I'm really sorry about that. As I walk, my shoulders and legs are screaming at me to stop and have a break. But as soon as my backpack touches the ground, I'm eager to start going again. So, a quick energy bar lunch, a bit of drone flying, and I was again on my way, stopping only, although quite often, to take more pictures. I was amazed at how the scenery changes within a month or two. Because at the end of July 2020, there was still snow on the ground. I saw another guided, probably day tour, but no one else for the rest of today's hike. Look, I've just created this little setup, which I'm very happy with. I hope you can see it. I just hang a power bank here, and now I can charge my 360 camera as I walk, because it ran out of memory, and it just hangs there. I'm so happy. I was able to find an extra carabiner in my bag to just hang it like this, and it's very convenient. How come I've never done that before? That's very nice. The annoying thing is I've been having 2 blisters on my right foot for several days, and unfortunately they're getting worse. Now it's just painful to walk, but I guess there's nothing I can really do about it. I just have to suffer through for the next 4 days. Yesterday I met 2 people. They were not together, they were traveling separately, but both of them decided to stay at Kvikkjokk and not continue further. They started from Abisko, got to Kvikkjokk, and they were planning like me to continue, but then they decided to not continue further. Look, it's nice, and I'm going down to the river there. And yeah, I was kind of tempted to stop, but I'm also happy that I didn't, because if I had, my holiday would have been over already, and it's kind of nice that I can push work away for 5 more days and just enjoy an exercise, I would say, without any stress or deadline. As fun as I expected though, because I've been to this place, and even though it's extremely nice, it doesn't feel like a proper challenge when you're exploring something different. Let's do, is there a distance? No. Oh, 3 kilometers, perfect. I have 3 kilometers left. Yeah, it doesn't feel like a proper adventure when it's exactly the same route and when you know that you will be able to make it on day. Although tomorrow I will probably try to take a longer route. Because there is this iconic mountain called Skierfair, which I told you about, the one I saw before I started hiking in Sweden, the one I really wanted to see. And it's kind of off the main trail. The distance between the hut I'm staying at tonight and the next hut is 10 kilometers, so it's just a 10 kilometer route, very easy. But then you can actually turn off that trail and walk 7 kilometers up the top of the mountain for the view, and obviously then 7 kilometers back. My plan initially was to do that on the day after tomorrow, because tomorrow and the day after tomorrow I'm staying at the same hut, basically with this idea in mind, that I would go to the top of that mountain and then also do some hiking around the mountain in Sarek, just a little bit. But I've been thinking, looking at the forecast, that since the weather looks quite good tomorrow, but it looks like rain the day after tomorrow, I should probably add those 14 kilometers to the 10 between the huts, and then I'll be able to see the view.
because when it's raining you cannot really see anything from the top of the mountain. And then it will be a strenuous day of 24 kilometers and getting to the top of the mountain. I hope that will excite me a little bit more than today. And then I can actually go up again on the day after and also hike around the mountain itself. It's funny, I remember crossing this creek, when was it, in 2020, quite 4 years ago, and it was full of snow. It was kind of the end of July, around my birthday, and it was full of snow. Now there is no snow. I was thinking maybe it's like a glacier and the snow stays there all the time. But no, apparently it's still a bit cold in July and the snow is still there. But now by September it's gone. It's really fun to see how nature changes at the same place between seasons, which is what I wanted to see. That's why I decided to add this little bit to my main hike. But still, it doesn't feel fully adventurous or, let's say, tough enough, apart from my stupid blisters on my right foot, which are quite painful. Yeah, see, I'm very excited because I've just sat down. I hadn't had a couple of energy bars and they gave me some energy, and it's just 3 more kilometers to go to the next hut.
When I got to the hut, it was the usual, by now comfortable routine. Unpacking, changing into inside clothes, bringing fresh water from the lake, boiling a kettle for my tea, and the usual ready-made meal. There weren't many people staying in the hut that night, so I had my solitary dinner, trying to get rid of some flies that was somehow plenty at that stretch of Kungsleden. The stretch of today wasn't that hard, so even on my tired legs I got to the hut early enough to have plenty of time for some wood cutting. You know, somehow wood cutting is an extremely satisfying thing to do, especially when having a nice audiobook in my ears. As there weren't many people staying in Sitojaure today, and I got there first, I got a full tiny double room to myself. All I had left to do was making my bed and going to sleep. And this is the end of day 9. Tomorrow you will see Skirfe, the mountain that made me start through hiking. And if you can, please give me a like or subscribe. That will really help my tiny channel to grow.